Shabbat Shalom. Our scripture reading for today is Psalms chapter 13, verses 3 through 6. Consider and hear me, O Yahweh my Elohim. Lighten mine eyes, lest I sleep the sleep of death, lest mine enemies say, I have prevailed against him, and those that trouble me rejoice when I am moved. But I have trusted in thy mercy. My heart shall rejoice in thy salvation. And I will sing unto Yahweh, because he has dealt bountifully with me.
Shabbat Shalom, family. Our selection today, Consider Me.
Only The oracles of the UCI. 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you're sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim as dear children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becomes saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather given of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you up on earth. Therefore let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you, to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit unto the churches.
All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Which is peace on Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. Today I want to go into, a few things because of how comfortable we have gotten. We have do a lot in all of the places where Yahweh has scattered us, but we are indeed the richest ex-slaves on the planet, and we kind of take a lot of those things for granted over time, and instead of being thankful for what we have, we're always on a push to get more. The very little houses that we have, those houses are mansions in another country. We really don't consider what we have, and then our children get to play video games and sit in air-conditioned buildings and enjoy themselves. And just a short time ago, my grandmother had to leave school in the 4th grade because she had to cook for all the rest of the people who worked in the field. So as much as she got of her education was 4th grade. We're talking little kids were doing stone bussing labor. And how it is amazing that, we've gotten to the point where, the kids will look at you and say, I don't want to be inconvenienced. I don't know how convenient you think it is to bust rocks in 100-degree heat. But we have really gotten to a point where we have really not considered any of the things that our ancestors have gone through. Even for us to just have this book here, a whole lot of people got beat to death, stoned, set on fire, just for us to be able to have a book on our coffee table. And we just leave it there as a decoration. We really don't consider that at some point Yahweh is going to call us to the table, and he knows everything that we were given. And to whom much is given, he's going to have some expectations. And we've gotten so comfortable that we believe everything that have come to us is ours for the abusing. When there's a law that says you cannot pick all of what's in your own vineyard. That was supposed to be left for the poor. So we have to begin to start realigning our minds to something other than the daughter of Babylon. Because all the daughter of Babylon is going to help us do is take, and more take. Get, and more get. You're never going to get enough. You're never going to have enough. At some point, some decisions have to be made. Is my salvation important unto me? And how important is it to me? Let's begin today's sermon in Matthew chapter 18, and we're going to start at verse 21. Matthew chapter 18, and we're going to read verses 21 through 35.
Verse 21. Then came Cephas to him and said, Adonai, how often shall my brother sin against me and I forgive him? Till 7 times? Yahshua says unto him, I say not unto you until 7 times, but until 70 times 7.
Now, do we operate like that? Now, here's the thing. It said to whom much is given. When we consider when our brother has sinned against us, do we consider when we have sinned against somebody else? What happens is we go into that neutral self mode and everything is all about us. But the same forgiveness that you ask for, you're supposed to be able to give that at the same time. But we also understand that there is also an equation. There has to be repentance for there to be forgiveness. And for there to be repentance, somebody has to acknowledge something. This is our biggest problem. We don't like to acknowledge anything. Go ahead.
Therefore is the kingdom of heaven likened unto a certain king, which would take account of his servants. And when he had begun to reckon, one was brought unto him, which owed him 10,000 talents.
Now this is a pretty big debt. Go ahead.
But for as much as he had not to pay, his master commanded him to be sold, and his wife and children and all that he had, and payment to be made.
That's according to the law. So at this point, this person is rightfully in the place of the law saying, okay, he doesn't have the right to pay. I have the right to place his family in bonds and make them serve. That's legal. Go ahead.
The servant therefore fell down and worshipped him, saying, Adonai, have patience with me, and I'll pay you all. Then the master of that servant was moved with compassion and loosed him and forgave him the debt.
Now, he had the legal authority to keep him in bonds. But he had compassion because he asked. Go ahead.
You know what's interesting? It says, he said, have patience with me and I'll pay you all.
Uh-huh.
His compassion moved him and he forgave him the debt completely.
Mm-hmm.
But the same servant went out and found one of his fellow servants which owed him 100 pence. And he laid hands on him and took him by the throat, saying, pay me that you owe it.
Now, he owed a great deal more than 100. But you see how this situation turns around once he is in control? That he ready to choke his brother out for the smallest amount of infraction. Yet look at all those things that you were forgiven. But we don't count that as being something that we received. See, when we look at to whom much is given, we start thinking about monetary things. See, that's us. See, soon as you say to whom much is given, we trying to look out in the parking lot and see who driving what. That's automatically where our mind went. That ain't where Yahweh went. You're not considering the forgiveness that was given unto you? You're not considering the mercy that was given unto you? You're not considering any of that? Go ahead.
And his fellow servant fell down at his feet and besought him, saying, have patience with me, and I'll pay you all.
The same words that he said. Go ahead.
And he would not, but went and cast him into prison till he should pay the debt.
See, this is us. See, we situational. We want mercy, but we're not able to give any. Go ahead.
So when his fellow servants saw what was done, they were very sorry, and came and told unto their master all that was done.
Now, the master would have never known what had happened. It upset the people who stood by so much, they went and told. He would have never known this. And had it been a part or a encounter that wasn't horrible, he still wouldn't have known it because they would have had no reason to tell it. Go ahead.
Then his master, after they had called him, said unto him, O you wicked servant, I forgave you all that debt because you desired me. Should not you also have had compassion on your fellow servant, even as I had pity on you? And his master was angry and delivered him to the tormentors.
Now, he is not delivered to the tormentors because of his debt. He's delivered to the tormentors because of his unforgiving of the debt that was owed to him. He is delivered to the tormentors because he does not even consider what he received and went straight out another man's throat. And how quickly we forget. See, all that have to happen is, a few weeks or a month pass, we've already have forgotten what somebody else have done for us. Go ahead.
Till he should pay all that was due unto him. So likewise shall my heavenly Father do also unto you, if you from your hearts forgive not everyone his brother their trespasses.
Right. And we know the equation now. Your brother sin against you, you bring that to him. We won't do that. We'll go to everybody else. The brother won't find out that somebody got something against him. He's not gonna find out from that brother. He's gonna find out from every other brother around. So how many brothers, this individual done talk to? See, we got a book, right? But when it comes to our feelings, we throw the book to the side. That was the opportunity to deal with sin, repentance, and forgiveness. But we mess up the entire equation. Go ahead.
When you look at the whole situation, even at the end here, it says till he should pay all that was due. His slate was clean. His master forgave him everything. The slate was clean, but his own action brought all this back to the table.
He didn't go for his debt. He went for his unforgiveness. He said, wait a minute, man, didn't I forgive you all that? And you choked out somebody for $100? $100? And you owe me $1,000. I particularly like when folks owe you, and them be the ones who call you to tell you about their new car, but they ain't paid you. I was gonna find out you had a car, but did you really have to bring it by here? Cause I'm pretty sure that was the money you owe me that you used for the down payment. I'm pretty sure of it. And it never even came to your mind that, maybe I should, whatever. Luke chapter 19. But see, you stay in Babylon so long, you begin to learn her ways. And once you learn her ways, you take them on as yours. As Yahweh said, we outdo the heathen in unrighteousness. We learn their unrighteousness and we add a whole nother level on top of it. It wasn't in our ways. Luke chapter 19, started at verse 1.
And Yahshua entered and passed through Jericho. And behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus, which was the chief among the publicans, and he was rich. And he sought to see Yahshua, who he was, and could not for the press, because he was little of stature. And he ran before and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was to pass that way. And when Yahshua came to the place, he looked up and saw him, and said unto him, Zacchaeus, make haste, and come down, for today I must abide at your house. And he made haste, and came down, and received him joyfully. And when they saw it, they all murmured, saying that he was gone to be guest with a man that is a sinner. And Zacchaeus stood, and said unto the Adonai, Behold, Adonai, the half of my goods I give to the poor, and if I have taken anything from any man by false accusation, I restore him fourfold.
So what happened there? He had operated wrongfully in the past. And he got to a point where he considered his ways. He says, if I have taken anything by false accusation, I restore him fourfold. That means he going back into those dealings and said, because when you get a job, it is customary for you to perform the way that everybody else in the job performs. You understand that? You get a job and they said, no man, this is what we do. This is what we charge, This is how we do what we do. You do this and then you take off the top. And if the person that trained you at the job trained you that this is the way it's done, that's the way you're going to do it. Till after a while you start saying, well, wait a minute. Now this not right. But now all these people know he just like the rest of them. So now he got to backtrack and go fix some of that. But guess what? People will openly tell folks how they felt wronged. They don't tell them when they were righted. You know that, right? Let something happen to somebody. They told 10 people that they felt like they were wronged. That brother come back, pay them, and pay them fourfold. They didn't tell the same number of people, right? So the bad reputation is going 20 times the good. 2 people know that he took care of that business. 22 people know that it was a problem. Go ahead.
That's why certain jobs, if you know yourself, you can't do. I could never do commission sales because at some point it's going to require you to lie.
Yep.
And in them call centers, they got a culture where eventually they got you lying to the customers. I had to get out of that too.
Mm-hmm. I was never really good at the sales part, because I didn't like the uncomfortable parts of, where they, selling a smart home security system to an 89-year-old. And then, you got to, put the app on her phone. And she said, baby, what's an app? Oh, hell no. No, mama, this ain't gonna work. No, I can't do this. I can't do this. And they telling me you done messed up the sale. Yeah, I messed up the sale. She don't know what an app is, man. Okay? I asked her, you have a smartphone? Yeah, it flips. Ma'am, that's not a smartphone. That if it flips, 90% chance it's not smart. So, yeah, I wasn't very successful at that job. Go ahead.
Verse 9. And Yahshua said unto him, This day is salvation come to this house, for so much as he also is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man is come to seek and to save that which was lost. And as they heard these things, he added and spake a parable, because he was near to Jerusalem, and because they thought that the kingdom of Elohim should immediately appear. He said, therefore, a certain nobleman went into a far country to receive for himself a kingdom and to return. And he called his 10 servants and delivered them 10 pounds and said unto them, Occupy till I come.
Now, when you consider that this certain nobleman went into a far country to receive for himself a kingdom, and he called his 10 servants and delivered unto them these pounds. Substitute pounds for any and everything of value, from people to a house to money to everything. Husband, wife, consider. Keep reading.
But his citizens hated him and sent a message after him, saying, We will not have this man to reign over us.
Now, this is Israel. This is Israel. You know, what did Yahshua say? It said, no. They have a problem that I should reign over them. See, they have decided the kind of individual that they want to reign over them, and they decided that I'm not it. Go ahead.
And it came to pass that when he was returned, having received the kingdom, then he commanded these servants to be called unto him, to whom he had given the money, that he might know how much every man had gained by trading. Then came the first, saying, Adnai, your pound has gained 10 pounds. And he said unto him, Well, you good servant, because you have been faithful in a very little, have you authority over 10 cities. And the second came, saying, Adnai, your pound has gained 5 pounds. And he said likewise to him, Be you also over 5 cities. And another came, saying, Adnai, behold, here's your pound, which I have kept laid up in a napkin. For I feared you, because you are an austere man. You taketh up that you laid not down, and reapest that you did not sow. And he said unto him, Out of your own mouth will I judge you, you wicked servant. You knew that I was an austere man, taking up that I laid not down, and reaping that I did not sow.
So then, what are we automatically saying? When Yahshua gives you something, he's holding you accountable for what is supposed to be gained out of it. If he give you a little, he expecting a little bit more. He gave you a lot, he expecting a lot more. Because of what you were given. Go ahead.
Wherefore then gave you not my money into the bank, that at my coming I might have required my own with interest. And he said unto him that stood by, Take from him the pound, and give it to him that has 10 pounds.
This is where people find the unfairness of Yahweh. They say, this ain't fair. And this is exactly what the people standing around say. They said that, well, that brother got too much. Go ahead.
And they said unto him, Adnai, he has 10 pounds.
You see? Go ahead.
For I say unto you, that unto every one which has shall be given, and from him that has not, even that he has shall be taken away from him.
Right. It was taken away from him because he didn't do anything with it. See, this is the thing. When we desire a position, or we desire some gain in our life, Yahweh is going to hold you responsible for that. All right, I'm going to give you that. Now I'm going to see, what do you accomplish with that thing that you asked me for? You told me if I gave you a truck, you was going to be fruitful. You was going to do such and such work. We get the truck, ain't no work done. You said if I gave you a wife, you was going to do such and such and such and such. Every time I come by your house, you and your wife laid up. Ain't no work going on. Okay. Well, we got a problem. Because if Yahweh just give you, it says, when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. All right. So it was one of you before. Then he gave you a wife. That's 2 of you. How the hell is the same amount of work in the 2 of y'all? How the hell is the same amount of work? Wait a minute. You did this much work while you were by yourself. You asked me for a wife. I gave you one. How in the hell is it the same amount of work? And it's 2 of you. Okay. Read.
But those mine enemies, which would not that I should reign over them, bring hither and slay them before me.
those that would not that I should reign over them. So you see what the real issue is. That's why they're not putting in a whole bunch of effort in it. But let's go back, because I want to read something here. Let's go to Exodus chapter 22. So it's easy for us to see this whole part about the talents with money. I'm going to show you how Yahweh deal with that with everything in your house. Everything that you've got. Exodus 22, and I want to read verses 16 and 17.
And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed, and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife. If her father utterly refuse to give her unto him, he shall pay money according to the dowry of virgins.
There's a dowry. You can't just go and get a woman out of a man's house. Do you understand that you have taken substance out of his house? These women do work in this this man's house. You come and take some out of his house, he has taken a loss. You got to bring something to even have that conversation. So then there is a value already put on the woman before she even get in your house. If a man finds a wife and he finds a good thing, that was a good thing before you had it. Now it's your good thing. But it was a good thing anyhow. Now you took the good thing out of his house. That was profitable in his house. Why is it not profitable in yours? What did you do to it that made it not profitable? Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 25. See, you understand, you know, when a job is set forth, and let's say a woman has that job, and her man ends up feeling some kind of way about something that happened at church, and he stopped coming to church. What happens with that woman?
Coming too.
Eventually she gonna slow down coming, right? Well, what happened with the job? Now the job not being done. So because something happened with him, now the job that she had is not being performed. Now that whole thing is empty. So you didn't understand why a man who has a commitment, Yahweh may say, all right, I see a good thing, I'm gonna give you this woman. Why? Because as long as he's working, she gonna be right there. That job ain't never gonna not be done. We don't consider that when we get. We think when we get, it's all for us. 1 Samuel chapter 25, let's start at verse 1.
And Samuel died, and all the Israelites were gathered together and lamented him, and buried him in his house at Ramah. And David arose and went down to the wilderness of Paran. And there was a man in Moab whose possessions were in Carmel. And the man was very great, and he had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats, and he was sharing his sheep in Carmel. Now the name of the man was Nabal, and the name of his wife Abigail, and she was a woman of good understanding and of a beautiful countenance. But the man was churlish and evil in his doings, and he was of the house of Caleb.
So the man not quite all that right. Okay, keep reading.
And David heard in the wilderness that Nabal did share his sheep. And David sent out 10 young men, and David said unto the young man, Get you up to Carmel, and go to Nabal, and greet him in my name. And thus shall you say to him that lives in prosperity, Peace be both to you, and peace be to your house, and peace be unto all that you have.
So David's intention is not to do anything unto this man's house. But let me show you how Yahweh presents situations to do what his will is. Go ahead.
And now I've heard that you have shearers. Now my shepherds which were with us, now your shepherds which were with us, we heard them not, neither was there aught missing unto them all the while they were in Carmel. Ask your young men, and they will show you. Wherefore let the young man find favor in your eyes, for we come in a good day. Give, I pray you, whatsoever comes to your hand unto your servants, and to your son Dawid. And when Dawid's young men came, they spake to Nabal according to all those words in the name of Dawid, and ceased. And Nabal answered Dawid's servants and said, Who is Dawid? And who is the son of Jesse? There be many servants nowadays that break away every man from his master. Shall I then take my bread and my water and my flesh that I have killed from my shearers, and give it on to men whom I know not whence they be? So Dawid's young men turned their way, and went again, and came and told him all those sayings. And Dawid said unto his men, Gird you on every man his sword. And they girded on every man his sword. And Dawid also girded on his sword. And there went up after Dawid about 400 men, and 200 abode by the stuff.
See, we have to understand that there is, especially in this land, there's freedom of speech. But you might want to watch what come out of your mouth. He got freedom of speech, but that speech, he about to answer for that. Go ahead.
But one of the young men told Abigail, Nabal's wife, saying, Behold, Dawid sends messengers out of the wilderness to salute our master, and he railed on him, railed on them. But the men were very good unto us, and we were not hurt, neither missed we anything, as long as we were conversant with them when we were in the field.
And saying, oh, these men had the power to do whatever they want. They got weapons. These are soldiers. We tending flock. All right? There ain't nothing we can do if they wanted to do anything. Go ahead.
They were a wall unto us both by night and day, all the while we were with them, keeping the sheep. Now therefore know and consider what you will do, for evil is determined against our master, and against all his household. For he is such a son of Belial that a man cannot speak to him.
A man cannot speak to him. Now, they know all this by just the countenance of these men when he talked to them. They automatically, oh, we in trouble. I don't know what kind of men he think he was talking to. But when they go back to Bud and them, hey, they on their way. I'm telling you now. This not these kind of men. You can't just run off at the mouth and say whatever you thought you felt at that particular point. I'm telling you, we're in trouble. Go ahead.
Then Abigail made haste, and took 200 loaves, and 2 bottles of wine, and 5 sheep ready dressed, and 5 measures of parched corn, and 100 clusters of raisins, and 200 cakes of figs, and laid them on asses.
Now wait a minute. Now this the husband, the head of the house. She ain't asked him about that stuff. Now, as a wife, she got an opportunity to just agree with her husband. Because he the head of the house. I should just agree with him, right? As a wife. Wait a minute. If she agree, the whole house die. See, this is when some real spiritual decisions have to be made. Go ahead.
And she said unto her servants, Go on before me. Behold, I come after you. But she told not her husband Nabal. And it was so, as she rode on the ass, that she came down by the covert of the hill. And behold, Dawid and his men came down against her, and she met them.
Now what happened if she tarried and he already got to the house? You know ain't no conversation then, right? So time is of the essence. See, we got that thing where, I'm gonna take care of it. I'm gonna do such and such. Right. By the time you decide, that sword gonna already be upside your head. Go ahead.
Now Dawid had said, Surely in vain have I kept all that this fellow has in the wilderness, so that nothing was missed of all that pertained unto him, and he has requited me evil for good. So and more also do Elohim unto the enemies of Dawid, if I leave of all that pertain to him by the morning light any that piss against the wall.
Now, you know he got about 600 men. At some point, there should be some common sense. Even if you were going to deny the man, there's still a way to disagree. See, we don't know how to disagree without being distasteful. There is a way to disagree. The rest of that stuff that came out of his mouth, get him dealt with. Go ahead.
And when Abigail saw Dawid, she hasted and lighted off the ass, and fell before Dawid on her face, and bowed herself to the ground, and fell at his feet, and said, Upon me, my master, upon me, let this lawlessness be. And let your handmaid, I pray you, speak in your audience, and hear the words of your handmaid.
Now, she said, let it be upon me. Ain't this the man's job if he the head of the house? Go ahead.
Let not my master, I pray you, regard this man of Belial, even Nabal. For as his name is, so is he.
So she knows she married to a fool. Go ahead.
Nabal is his name, and folly is with him. But I, your handmaid, saw not the young man of my master, whom you did send. Now therefore, my master, as Yahweh lives, and as your soul lives, seeing Yahweh has withholden you from coming to shed blood, and from avenging yourself with your own hand, now let your enemies, and they that seek evil to my master, be as Nabal. And now, this blessing which your handmaid has brought unto my master, let it even be given unto the young men that follow my master. I pray you, forgive the trespass of your handmaid, for Yahweh will certainly make my master a sure house.
Now, what you find different from the prideful and the humble? The humbleness of this woman is accepting the sin as if she did it. Forgive your handmaid. Forgive your handmaid. Forgive your handmaid. You didn't say it. Go ahead.
Because my master fights the battles of Yahweh, and evil has not been found in all your days. Yet a man is risen to pursue you and to seek your soul. But the soul of my master shall be bound in the bundle of life with Yahweh your Elohim.
Now, you also see another thing. There are situations and circumstances that have happened unto Dawid. Her husband sees it one way, she sees it another. He says there be many people who fall away and go against their master. She said, Yahweh gonna make you king. A man has risen up to pursue you, and you have done no harm. They're in the same house, but they don't see that situation the same. She don't just agree to him, with him because he the head of the house. She said, no, the way you see this is wrong. Yahweh is with him. He gonna be king. You done almost got us killed. And I'm not finna sit here and hold your hand and die with you. Go ahead.
And the souls of your enemies, them shall he sling out, as out of the middle of a sling. And it shall come to pass, when Yahweh shall have done to my master according to all the good that he has spoken concerning you, and shall have appointed you ruler over Israel.
He will appoint you ruler over Israel. I don't know what my husband talking about. I don't know what he talking about. Every man break away from him. I don't know what he talking about. But you gonna be king. Go ahead.
That this shall be no grief unto you, nor offense of heart unto my master, either that you have shed blood causelessly, or that my master has avenged himself. But when Yahweh shall have dealt well with my master, then remember your handmaid. And Dawid said to Abigail, Blessed be Yahweh Elohim of Israel, which sent you this day to meet me.
Now, he realized that see, you have talked me out of my own aggression. You know how hard it is to talk a brother out of fighting when he got 400 brothers behind him? Come on, man. Come on, bro. When a brother got 2 brothers behind him, and you know how brothers, man, I wouldn't take that if I was you. Man, you gonna let them look at you like that? Y'all know we get in the most trouble when we got help. So she was able to talk him down in the presence of other soldiers. They say when a man find a wife, he find a good thing. Let me tell you something. The fool got a good thing, but the fool ain't dealing with the good thing right. She done talked a man down, not just a man, but a future king in front of soldiers. One thing about men. Come on now. Talking a man down is one thing. Talking a man down in front of 400 other men. Sister got gifts. Sister got gifts. Go ahead.
Not only that, 400 other heated men.
They all ready to, and look, he done geared them up. And you know what happened when we ready to fight, man? We gonna hit something. I'm telling you, man, I didn't come all the way down here and there ain't nobody. I've been dragging my sword on the ground. What is that? I'm gonna cut something. And now you gonna tell us because you done had a conversation with this woman that now we're not gonna fight? Come on, man. This is what come on, man. We got this thing locked, stock, wide. We're ready. So this is a humbling thing for him to humble himself and then turn around all these men and say, she has kept me from avenging myself. She has kept me from shedding blood. Come on all y'all, let's turn back around and go home. See, that's man stuff right there. That's man stuff. Everybody want to beat on their chest, but they ain't about that man stuff. That's man stuff right there. For you to be able to look at 400 other dudes and say, you know what, I was wrong. Now, none of y'all convinced me that I was wrong, but somehow she did. And this ain't my woman. At least y'all say, oh, yeah, well, you know, she got power because she your woman. That ain't his woman. The 400 with him didn't convince him he was wrong. The woman did. Keep reading.
Verse 33. And blessed be your advice, and blessed be you, which has kept me this day from coming to shed blood and from avenging myself with mine own hand.
I told you, it matters what kind of woman you got. Does she talk you out, or is she the one egging you? You better go and bust on them fools. That's what we got this Glock for. Chitty bang bang, baby. What? Go ahead.
For in very deed, as Yahweh Elohim of Israel lives, which has kept me back from hurting you, except you had hasted and come to meet me, surely they had not been left unto Nabal by the morning light any that piss against the wall.
Right, so those servants that you care about and that cared enough to tell you what happened, they were going to be dead in the morning. Because I would have reached you. And had I reached you, it was going to be a done deal. Had I reached you, there wasn't going to be no situation. Wasn't going to be no conversation. Go ahead.
So David received of her hand that which she had brought him, and said unto her, Go up in peace to your house. See, I have hearkened to your voice, and have accepted your person. And Abigail came to Nabal, and behold, he held a feast in his house, like the feast of a king.
Now, he ain't even considering that he about to die. So, I want you to consider something. He held a feast in his house like the feast of a king. You do know all those people are going to die too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now how many lives has this woman saved? But depending on how you look at it, she's a disobedient woman. She went not with the will of her husband. But all these guests at the party, they're going to die too. Now we not checking, you know, hey, how you doing? Do you live here? Are you visiting? I'm saying, are you just coming through? You just passing through? I mean, you know, so how long you been known him? No. You here? You dying. Go ahead.
You know, but we see this even nowadays with this whole social media. People go to run off at the mouth, and then you go to some restaurant, or you can't run off at the mouth and not looking over your back. This man ran off at his mouth, and he having a party.
Right. Why you think a lot of people go and run their mouth and they got masks on their face?
Come on.
Right. Go ahead, brother.
And Nabal's heart was merry within him, for he was very drunken. Wherefore she told him nothing, less or more, until the morning light. But it came to pass in the morning, when the wine was gone out of Nabal, and his wife had told him these things, that his heart died within him, and he became as a stone. And it came to pass about 10 days after that Yahweh smote Nabal, that he died.
Mm-hmm.
And when David heard that Nabal was dead, he said, Blessed be Yahweh that has pleaded the cause of my reproach from the hand of Nabal, and has kept his servant from evil. For Yahweh has returned the wickedness of Nabal upon his own head. And David sent and communed with Abigail to take her to him to wife.
So, we get to all that to find out what? In the beginning, this was a wise, understanding woman who was married to a fool. What did Yahweh do? He took that pound and gave it unto his neighbor who was better than him. See, when you read this stuff about the talents, people keep taking that talent. No. That wife you got, that's a talent. And if you don't do right about her, Yahweh say, you know what? That is a really good woman. But you're going to be prosperous in that house. Because you ain't doing a damn thing in that one. We think this is a game. This ain't no game. Yahweh will sit back and wait and see, all right, let me see how you prosper with that. Oh, okay, no prospering. Take that from him and give it to him who has 10. And they say, but Adonai, he has 10. Right. Let's go to Luke chapter 13. You want to play with something, Yahweh not it. Understand, the children of Israel asked him for a king. He knew they weren't ready for one, but they kept asking. What did he do? All right, here go your king, Israel. You asking for, all right, I'll give you a wife. I'll give you a wife. All right. But then when he come back to reckon, all right, now show me what you gained. What you talking about? No, man, I gave you a talent. I gave you a talent. So I'm coming back for my increase. What? You didn't give me no talent? Man, do you see that? That's 5'5" of straight talent right there, boy. You didn't see what I gave you? Now, I've been gone a season. I came back for my increase. What you got for me? Well, we happy. Boy, run now. Run now, boy. Run. Luke chapter 13, let's read verses 6 through 9.
He spake also this parable. A certain man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard, and he came and sought fruit thereon, and found none. Then said he unto the dresser of his vineyard, Behold, these 3 years I come seeking fruit on this fig tree, and find none. Cut it down, why cumbereth it the ground?
All right, now, this is our opportunity. This is grace now. It's not fruitful, but he's giving it an opportunity. Go ahead.
And he answering said unto him, Adonai, let it alone this year also, till I shall dig about it and dung it.
Right. Do you know if Yahweh has already waited a time, waiting for your increase, and it has not come? So now, he has dug about and put dung around you, hoping that you might produce. Now, dung is doo-doo. So when you look up one day and what's that smells? Oh, it sounds like you on your last rodeo. Cause he about to cut you down. He giving you the last opportunity to bring him some increase. After that, you just taking up space. What my elder would call, them seat dwellers. Go ahead.
And if it bear fruit, well, and if not, then after that you shall cut it down.
After that, you shall cut it down. Let's go to Mark chapter 11. Mark chapter 11. You know, I tell people all the time, and they don't really see it that way. The hardest reading that you ever gonna have is that part where Yahshua talking. They's like, well, you know, them brothers, they be staying in the Old Testament. So no. Old Testament is a piece of cake compared to them words that come out of Yahshua mouth. Mark chapter 11, and we're going to start at verse 12.
And on the morrow, when they were come from Bethany, he was hungry. And seeing a fig tree afar off, having leaves, he came, if haply he might find anything thereon. And when he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for the time of figs were not yet. And Yahshua answered and said unto it, no man eat fruit of you hereafter forever. And they come to Jerusalem.
Now, hold on. Verse 13. And seeing a fig tree afar off, having leaves. All right. It had leaves. It had leaves. So he came, if happily he might find anything thereon. And when he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for the time of figs was not yet. Now, it's not time for it to have figs. Yet he cursed it. Why? Why you got leaves? If it ain't time for figs, why you a hypocrite then? So, you like those other 5 virgins who had lamps, but wasn't no oil in them. Tell me why you got a lamp if you ain't got no oil. So you looking the part then. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
And they came to Jerusalem, and Yahshua went into the temple and began to cast out them that sold and bought in the temple.
I'm telling you, everybody claimed they like Yahshua. Everybody claimed that he is all about love. He came right in and started throwing people out. Go ahead.
And overthrew the tables of the money changers and the seats of them that sold doves.
You want to start a ruckus? Throw over a table with money, and everybody can't tell who money it was. Do you know how much ruckus you just started at that point? And they like, who gave you the authority to come in here turning over tables? My father. His house is not a house of merchandise. What are y'all doing? But see, that's zeal for the house. That's the zeal of Yahweh's house. Go ahead.
And would not suffer that any man should carry any vessel through the temple. And he taught, saying unto them, is it not written, my house shall be called of all nations the house of prayer? But you have made it a den of thieves. And the scribes and the chief priests heard it, and saw how they might destroy him, for they feared him, because all the people was astonished at his doctrine. And when even was come, he went out of the city. And in the morning, as they passed by, they saw the fig tree dried up from the roots. And Cephas, calling to remembrance, says unto him, Master, behold, the fig tree which you cursed is withered away.
Right. Once he has spoken against it, it's a done deal. Go ahead.
And Yahshua answering says unto them, have faith in Elohim, for verily I say unto you, that whosoever shall say unto this mountain, be you removed, and be you cast into the sea, and shall not doubt in his heart, but shall believe that those things which he says shall come to pass, he shall have whatsoever he says. Therefore I say unto you, what things soever you desire, when you pray, believe that you receive them, and you shall have them. And when you stand praying, forgive, if you have aught against any, that your Father also which is in heaven may forgive you your trespasses.
We don't, we don't really think about that's a two-way street. Go ahead.
But if you do not forgive, neither will your Father which is in heaven forgive your trespasses. And they come again to Jerusalem, and as he was walking in the temple, there come to him the chief priests and the scribes and the elders, and say unto him, by what authority do you these things? And who gave you this authority to do these things?
Yeah, they bothered. They bothered. Who gave you this authority? Go ahead.
And Yahshua answered and said unto them, I will also ask of you one question, and answer me, and I'll tell you by what authority I do these things. The baptism of Yohanan, was it from heaven or of men? Answer me. And they reasoned with themselves, saying, if we shall say from heaven, he will say, why then did you not believe him? But if we shall say of men, they feared the people, for all men counted Yohanan that he was a prophet indeed. And they answered and said unto Yahshua, we cannot tell. Yahshua answered and says unto them, neither do I tell you by what authority I do these things.
Right. Stop thinking that everything that somebody asks, you need to give them an answer. What made them deserve an answer? Because they asked it. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 20. So as soon as Yahshua cursed this tree, it withered up. So it would behoove us that when we find ourselves dug up and dunged about, that we need to produce before he come by and say that's it. Because once he say that's it, that's it. Leviticus chapter 20, and I want to read verse 10.
And the man that commits adultery with another man's wife, even he that commits adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death.
So, two people are supposed to be put to death, right? All right. Let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 11. Not just a man, not just a woman. Second Samuel chapter 11, let's read verses 1 through 5.
And it came to pass, after the year was expired, at the time when kings go forth to battle, that David sent Joab and his servants with him, and all Israel, and they destroyed the children of Ammon and besieged Rabbah. But David tarried still at Jerusalem.
So, step number one, David is in a place where he ain't supposed to be. He's supposed to be with the men where kings go forth to war. So if kings go into war, why you at the house? See, this is what happened when you let everybody get in your ear.
You know what? You're a great king. You know, look here. If something happened and we lose you, we have lost a lot. So why don't you just stay here, you know what I'm saying, in your marvelous house, and we'll go out there and take care of the business.
And now he sees something he shouldn't have saw. And now he's in trouble. Go ahead.
And it came to pass in an eventide that David arose from off his bed and walked upon the roof of the king's house. And from the roof he saw a woman washing herself, and the woman was very beautiful to look upon.
Wouldn't have seen it because he wouldn't have been there. Go ahead.
And David sent and inquired after the woman. And one said, Is not this Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite?
Now see, that should have been the end of the conversation. She's she who? Yeah, the wife of Uriah. Go ahead.
And David sent messengers and took her, and she came in unto him, and he lay with her, for she was purified from her uncleanness, and she returned unto her house.
Now, I don't know how many of y'all know how to count, but if she has just come from her purification, and that's 7 days, and then he lay with her, she with child. See, you have to know you have to know your counts. See, you got to know how long things swim, how long the swimmers swim, and how long is there a pool for the swimmers to swim into. And there you have it. Perfect opportunity for wrongdoing. And he falls right into the wrong window. So now there's evidence of this situation. Now, we just read the law. All right? Make sure you finish that.
And the woman conceived and sent and told David and said, I am with child.
I am with child. Go to chapter 12 and start that at verse 1.
And Yahweh sent Nathan unto David, and he came unto him and said unto him.
Now, understand, there's a process of situation that has happened. David tries to get the man to lay with his wife so that he can present the child as being the husband's. It doesn't happen. David then feels like, okay, I got to kill the man. And he puts the man in a place of battle where he knows he's going to die. Go ahead.
There were 2 men in one city, the one rich and the other poor. The rich man had exceeding many flocks and herds, but the poor man had nothing, save one little ewe lamb, which he had bought and nourished up, and it grew up together with him and with his children. It did eat of his own meat, and drank of his own cup, and lay in his bosom, and was unto him as a daughter. And there came a traveler unto the rich man, and he spared not to take of his own flock and of his own herd, to dress for the wayfaring man that was come unto him, but took the poor man's lamb, and dressed it for the man that was come to him. And David's anger was greatly kindled against the man, and he said to Nathan,
Now, you have to find it amazing how self-centered we can be. Knowing he done slept with a man's wife and had the man killed, he is really heartbroken about this lamb. Boy, we some funny people. You don't. Something should have already been operating differently in you, knowing that the things that you have done, but you was completely just ticked off about this lamb. No, he didn't. Go ahead.
that's where we let emotions lead us and we don't stop and think about our own decisions and
Right.
things around us.
Are you kidding me? How are you this angry? You this angry about a lamb? Go ahead.
And David's anger was greatly kindled against the man. And he said to Nathan, as Yahweh lives, the man that has done this thing shall surely die. And he shall restore the lamb fourfold.
Now, he still had to pay. Even though he died, he still got to pay. Go ahead.
Because he did this thing and because he had no pity.
No pity.
And Nathan said to David, you are the man. Thus says Yahweh Elohim of Israel, I anointed you king over Israel, and I delivered you out of the hand of Saul. And I gave you your master's house and your master's wives.
Wait a minute. Master's wives, plural. I gave you those wives. Go ahead.
Into your bosom, and gave you the house of Israel and of Yehuda. And if that had been too little, I would moreover have given unto you such and such things.
Right. I would have given you anything you asked for. But you know what we can't do when we know we're doing wrong? We can't ask. Because then we're going to have to go to Yahweh and tell him why we're asking. So then we go about to perform that ourselves. How would a prayer go? Abba Father, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Can you please give me Mishael's wife? How does that prayer go? How's that prayer go?
I wish I had Jesse's girl.
Right. See, when you know you're wrong from the start, you can't even go the route of Elohim. Now you got to take another route. Go ahead.
You know, it's like the topic of the class, to whom much is given, and that's what Nathan's running down. Yeah,
Yes.
I gave you this, gave you this, gave you this, gave you this. And I expected better of you.
Oh, yeah. And even when it come down, all the way down, he's dealing with him. Go ahead.
Wherefore have you despised the commandment of Yahweh to do evil in his sight? You have killed Uriah the Hittite with the sword, and have taken his wife to be your wife, and has slain him with the sword of the children of Ammon.
Right. Just because you didn't do it yourself, don't think I'm not counting that to you. You did it. You put him in that situation. You did it. Go ahead.
Now therefore the sword shall never depart from your house, because you have despised me, and have taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be your wife. Thus says Yahweh, behold, I'll raise up evil against you out of your own house, and I'll take your wives before your eyes, and give them unto your neighbor, and he shall lie with your wives in the sight of this son.
Right. Yahweh hardcore. Yahweh hardcore. They said this stuff we ain't supposed to watch. Yahweh said y'all gonna watch today. But Yahweh, we ain't supposed to see no man with, and he engaged with, you gonna see today. Go ahead.
You know, when you look at this situation, right? He took from the man who got one and gave it to the man that got 10. This man took one, and Yahweh took 10, gave it to somebody else.
There it is. You got the same ratio, 10 to 1, 1 to 10. Oh, Yahweh got jokes. You just gotta meditate on them long enough to get it. It might take you 5 years. One day you be in a house by yourself. Well, Brad J got it. That's why he hit me in the head. I got it now. Right. Go ahead.
For you did it secretly. But I'll do this thing before all Israel. and
You
before
did
the
it
sun.
secretly. Oh, but I'm going to do it on the rooftop. Go ahead.
And David said unto Nathan, I have sinned against Yahweh. And Nathan said unto David, Yahweh also has put away your sin. You shall not die. Howbeit, because by this deed you have given great occasion to the enemies of Yahweh to blaspheme, the child also that is born unto you shall surely die.
Now, all of this punishment is coming directly to David. Okay? Jump to verse 24.
And David comforted Bathsheba, his wife, and went in unto her, and lay with her. And she bare a son, and he called his name Slomo. And Yahweh loved him. And he sent by the hand of Nathan the prophet, and he called his name Yedidiah, because of Yahweh.
Now, hold on. It said, if somebody commit adultery, the man and the woman supposed to die. Because of the covenant that Yahweh made with David, he didn't kill him. But he said, you're going to have, the sword will never depart from your house. Now, he didn't adult himself. There was a woman involved. Somebody tell me what her punishment was. None of the evil that came to him came from her child. Matter of fact, her child becomes king. So tell me again where she was punished. Now, if the law says that both of them are supposed to be punished, why is it that she was not punished? So, when Yahweh said to whom much is given, he's dealing directly with him. And let's see how much Yahweh is holding him. Go to 1 Samuel chapter 18. You can go from Genesis to Revelation. You ain't going to find no punishment handed to Bathsheba. David died. She's still around. She there at his death when Solomon is anointed king. She still goes on. But wait a minute. She's an adulteress. So how does Yahweh deal with that? He didn't hold her accountable. He held him accountable. 1 Samuel 18, and let's read verses 6 through 9. I'm going to show you why.
And it came to pass as they came, when David was returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, that the women came out of all cities of Israel, singing and dancing, to meet King Saul with tabrets, with joy, and with instruments of music.
Now they came to meet King Saul, because he the king. Go ahead.
And the women answered one another as they played, and said, Saul has slain his 10,000, his thousands, pardon me, and David his 10,000s. And Saul was very angry, and the saying displeased him. And he said, they have ascribed unto David 10,000, and to me they have ascribed but thousands. And what can he have more but the kingdom? And Saul eyed David from that day and forward.
Now, Yahweh knew the power that he possessed with the women, period. He come to town, they start singing. Surely this woman was wrong. She knew she was wrong. She knew she was married. But understand who David is. He's a king. He's a warrior. He's a poet. He's a prophet. Poor woman, the elastic on her underpants probably just fell off. He got it going on like that, and he's a good lady to look to. That's the beginning of the story, that he's handsome. Yahweh held him responsible. She was not punished, even though she was an adulteress. Yahweh laid it all on him. To whom much is given. Now you gonna pay for this. Now you enticed her. She had no power within her to even stand up because of the power, because of the anointing that I put on you. She couldn't possibly tell you no. Do you know how to even walk in that kind of power? Right. Do you even know how to possess your vessel when you can point your vessel at anything and it stops sailing? Right. Go ahead, brother.
Hey, you got to think about it, because even past this situation, that power is still there. Because remember what with Michael when he came in dancing? How glorious was the king today. That jealousy from just knowing how he got the
Dancing with your
attention.
shirt off like one of the vain men. I know you're old, but you still got those muscles.
Right. Okay. 2 Corinthians chapter 12. See, Yahweh know what he gave every last one of us. And it goes way far, way past monetary things. No. He know what he gave you. And he will be coming back for his increase. Don't think because he been gone for a while that he ain't coming back for his. Second Corinthians chapter 12, and let's start this at verse 1.
It is not expedient for me, doubtless, to glory. I will come to visions and revelations of the Adonai. I knew a man in the Mashiach above 14 years ago. Whether in the body, I cannot tell, or whether out of the body, I cannot tell, Elohim knows. Such an one caught up to the third heaven. And I knew such a man, whether in the body or out of the body, I cannot tell, Elohim knows. How that he was caught up into paradise, and heard unspeakable words, which it is not lawful for a man to utter. Of such an one will I glory, yet of myself I will not glory, but in mine infirmities. For though I would desire to glory, I shall not be a fool, for I will say the truth. But now I forbear, lest any man should think of me above that which he sees me to be, or that he hears of me. At least I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of the revelations. There was given to me a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I should be exalted above measure.
So now this brother has so many spiritual gifts that a thorn was given unto him so that he would stay humble. Go ahead.
For this thing I besought the Adonai 3 times, that it might depart from me. And he said unto me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness.
You know what? When you have a disease or dis-ease in your body, you know the last thing you trying to get is a parable. My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. So what time you healing me again? Because I didn't beseech you for no parables. I'm trying to get that medication. Now what time? What time you get here with that healing? I'm not healing you. You know how difficult that is for somebody to have the power to heal other people, but Yahweh won't take away this thing? Now, how many people now won't believe in him because he has this thorn? Because, you know, all we got to see is one imperfection, and we question everything that a man has ever done in life. Keep reading.
Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in mine infirmities, that the power of Yahshua may rest upon me. Therefore I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in necessities, in persecutions, in distress for Yahshua's sake. For when I am weak, then am I strong. I am become a fool in glorying. You have compelled me, for I ought to have been commended of you. For in nothing am I behind the very chiefest apostle, though I be nothing. Truly the signs of an apostle were wrought among you in all patience, in signs and wonders and mighty deeds. For what is it written, wherein you were inferior to other churches, except it be that I myself was not burdensome to you? Forgive me this wrong. Behold, the third time I am ready to come to you, and I will not be burdensome to you, for I seek not yours, but you.
Right. I will not be burdensome unto you. And what? I'm going to take care of my own. I work my own hands. I ain't gonna be burdensome up to you. But truthfully speaking, they should have been taking care of him. Go ahead.
For the children ought not to lay up for the parents, but the parents for the children.
Right. He said that's something seriously backwards. The children ought not to lay up for the parents, but the parents for the children. We got backwards situation where the children lead the house. All the weight and power of everything that happens is laid on the children and not the parent. Keep reading.
And I will very gladly spend and be spent for you. Though the more abundantly I love you, the less I be loved.
Ain't that Israel? It's the walk in this word all the way around. The less I love you, the less I be loved. Go ahead.
But be it so. I did not burden you. Nevertheless, being crafty, I caught you with guile. Did I make a gain of you by any of them whom I sent on to you?
Mm-hmm.
I desired Titus, and with him I sent a brother. Did Titus make a gain of you? Walked we not in the same spirit? Walked we not in the same steps?
Right. You know, it's absolutely amazing. You know, before we came into this word and we showed up at Sunday morning churches, everything in there made a gain of us. That offering plate went around 5 times. It went around in Bible study. It went around in Sunday morning praise several times. And we allowed them people to make merchandise of us. Come in the word and we want to count everything that happened. Boy, Israel something else. Go ahead.
Again, think you that we excuse ourselves unto you? We speak before Elohim in the Mashiach, but we do all things, dearly beloved, for your edifying. For I fear, lest when I come, I shall not find you such as I would, and that I shall be found unto you such as you would not, lest there be debates, envyings, wraths, strifes, backbitings, whisperings, swellings, tumults.
Right, and we know all it takes is a work to become an enemy unto another brother. What happened between Cain and Abel? Hey man, your offering was better than mine. You got to die. That's all it takes. Go ahead.
And lest when I come again, my Elohim will humble me among you, and that I shall bewail many which have sinned already, and have not repented of the uncleanness and fornication and lasciviousness which they have committed.
All right. So understanding all of that, and he has this thorn in the flesh. Let's go to Acts chapter 19. Let me bring something to your remembrance here, so you can just understand just how deep Yahweh is with things. Now, he has a thorn in his flesh. Now read Acts 19, verse 11 and 12.
And Elohim wrought special miracles by the hands of Saul,
Special miracles.
so that from his body were brought onto the sick handkerchiefs or aprons, and the diseases departed from them, and the evil spirits went out of them.
So he's got a thorn in the flesh. But then he's got clothing on his flesh. The clothing that was on his flesh healed other people. But it wouldn't take away the thorn. Boy, Yahweh deep. But what happens if he takes away every thorn from you? Do you stop working? Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 44. We don't really consider that some of that is what keeps you going. I wrote a song back in the day called Worst Enemy. And the enemy in the song was me. Ezekiel chapter 44, and we're going to read verses 15 through 19.
But the priests, the Levites, the sons of Zadok, that kept the charge of my sanctuary when the children of Israel went astray from me, they shall come near to me to minister unto me, and they shall stand before me to offer unto me the fat and the blood, says the Adonai Yah.
Right. So then he has a separation between those that serve afar and those that serve close. There's always levels in this. And they earn that by their previous service. Go ahead.
They shall enter into my sanctuary, and they shall come near to my table to minister unto me, and they shall keep my charge. And it shall come to pass that when they enter in at the gates of the inner court, they shall be clothed with linen garments, and no wool shall come upon them whilst they minister in the gates of the inner court and within. They shall have linen bonnets upon their heads, and shall have linen breeches upon their loins. They shall not gird themselves with anything that causes sweat. And when they go forth into the outer court, even into the utter court, to the people, they shall put off their garments wherein they minister.
They cannot go unto the people within the same garments that they have served close unto Elohim. Why? Because there's power in those clothes. So the same thing that Saul was having, all of that comes from the law. That was already set forth. Look, no. There's power in them clothes because you've been close to Elohim. You can't just go and hang out with them regular people over there. Go ahead.
And lay them in the holy chambers, and they shall put on other garments, and they shall not sanctify the people with their garments.
Check that out. The people are sanctified by the garments that he had on while he was serving Elohim. Go ahead.
That was it, verse.
That was it. Let's go to Luke chapter 12. Luke chapter 12, and we want to read verses 35 through 48.
Verse 35. Let your loins be girded about, and your lights burning. And be you yourselves like unto men that wait for the Adonai, or wait for the master, when he will return from the wedding, that when he comes and knocks, they may open unto him immediately. Blessed are those servants, whom when the master, when he comes, shall find watching. Verily I say unto you, that he shall gird himself, and make them to sit down to meat, and will come forth and serve them. And if he shall come in the second watch, or come in the third watch, and find them so, blessed are those servants.
Right. The second and third watch, he going graveyard shift. He going late. No. I want to come when you think I'm not going to come. I ain't going to come in the daytime. See, you looking for me then. See, I want to see who really dedicated about that work. I'm going to come when don't nobody expect me. Go ahead.
And this know, that if the good man of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched, and not have suffered his house to be broken through. Be you therefore ready also, for the Son of Man comes at an hour when you think not. Then Cephas said unto him, Adonai, speak you this parable unto us, or even to all? And the Adonai said, Who then is that faithful and wise steward, whom his master shall make ruler over his household, to give them their portion of meat in due season? Blessed is that servant, whom his master, when he comes, shall find so doing. Of a truth I say unto you, that he will make him ruler over all that he has. But and if that servant say in his heart, My master delays his coming, and shall begin to beat the men servants and maidens, and to eat and drink, and to be drunken.
Right. So how we beat the men servants and maidens, we'll say, well, I ain't beat nobody. No. We beat them up with our words. We beat them up with sowing discord. We beat them up in other ways. You know what I'm saying? We'll beat them up on Facebook. We won't actually put our hands on them. Go ahead.
The master of that servant will come in a day when he looks not for him, and at an hour when he is not aware, and will cut him in sunder, and will appoint him his portion with the unbelievers. And that servant, which knew his master's will, and prepared not himself, neither did according to his will, shall be beaten with many stripes.
Wait a minute. And the servant which knew his master's will. We come into this word. We have been educated according to this word. And prepared not himself, neither did according to his will, shall be beaten with many stripes. Wait a minute. To whom much is given, you were given understanding. You are going to be held accountable for the understanding that you have received. Go ahead.
But he that knew not and did commit things worthy of stripes shall be beaten with few stripes.
And Yahweh know who has had the opportunity. See, what folks think is, if I stay in ignorance, I'll be protected. So then you notice when you start getting and you speaking to somebody who they'll tell you, my church is a family. And you start talking about that Sabbath and they be like, I don't want to hear no more. They think that they're going to be protected under the veil of ignorance. No. Yahweh like, no. I sent you a servant. What you talking about? I sent somebody to tell you. Remember that dude you had cutting your grass? Yeah, I sent him to tell you. But you wouldn't respect him because he was just a grass cutter.
Yes, sir.
But that dude who was cutting your grass, that was the one I sent to tell you about salvation. It shall be required of you. Go ahead.
For unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall be much required. And to whom men have committed much, of him they will ask the more.
All right. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 6. Proverbs chapter 6, and I want to read 2 verses out of here. I want to read verses 30 and 31.
Men do not despise a thief if he steal to satisfy his soul when he is hungry.
So then, even when, this tells you how Yahweh deals with righteous judgment. Now, stealing is wrong one way or another. But there's some compassion had for the reason of the theft. Men don't despise a thief when he steals because he's hungry. See, you realize that there's different categories of thievery. So you got some thieves, they stealing to live the high life. Then you have somebody who saw a hot dog and took it. They weren't going to get rich out that hot dog, bro. They were going to get full. Go ahead.
But if he be found,
Nonetheless, there's still law.
he shall restore sevenfold.
There you go.
He shall give all the substance of his house.
Right. You're still going to be held accountable for the thievery. But men don't despise them. So then there's an opportunity then there for repentance and forgiveness. Because you're not despising this individual. See, sometimes we see something as law and we say, it's the law, this is how it has to be done. Who we just read. Yahweh has a law concerning adulterer and the adulteress. But he considered the entire circumstance. And he deals with everybody accordingly. That's righteous judgment. And that's why judgment had to come out of Israel's hand. Because we don't know what things to consider. See, Yahweh know all the things that we hide. You may know of a situation that happened, but Yahweh know the background. See, Yahweh know the intention. No. I know what happened to that person 5 years ago, so I know why they said this to them. It ain't had nothing to do with what he did to them. It got something to do with what happened to them 5 years ago. Yahweh know all that. That's why you can't have no judgment more righteous than his. Because he has all the information. We might say, oh, it's because of this. And Yahweh like, no, it's not. That's not why you got that problem. No, I know exactly why you got the problem. It ain't got nothing to do with what you're looking at right there. It's got something to deal with something that you don't want to pull out and put on the table. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 10. Leviticus chapter 10, and we're going to start that at verse 12.
And Moshe spake unto Aaron and to Eleazar and unto Ithamar, his sons that were left. Take the meat offering that remains of the offerings of Yahweh made by fire, and eat it without leaven beside the altar, for it is most holy.
Okay, so they have a job. They have some ordinances that are attached to this job. There are some responsibilities that must be performed. Go ahead.
And you shall eat it in the holy place, because it is your due and your sons' due of the sacrifices of Yahweh made by fire, for so I am commanded. And the wave breast and heave shoulder shall you eat in a clean place, you and your sons and your daughters with you, for they be your due, and your sons' due, which are given out of the sacrifices of peace offerings of the children of Israel. The heave shoulder and the wave breast shall they bring with the offerings made by fire of the fat, to wave it for a wave offering before Yahweh, and it shall be yours and your sons with you by a statute forever, as Yahweh has commanded. And Moshe diligently sought the goat of the sin offering, and behold, it was burnt. And he was angry with Eleazar and Ithamar, the sons of Aaron, which were left alive, saying, Wherefore have you not eaten the sin offering in the holy place, seeing it is most holy? And Elohim has given it to you to bear the lawlessness of the congregation, to make atonement for them before Yahweh. Behold, the blood of it was not brought in within the holy place. You should indeed have eaten it in the holy place, as I commanded.
So he's chastising them for this job not done. Go ahead.
And Aaron said unto Moshe, Behold, this day have they offered their sin offering and their burnt offering before Yahweh, and such things have befallen me. And if I had eaten the sin offering today, should it have been accepted in the sight of Yahweh?
Something has befallen me. I'm not clean. Should I still have performed it? Go ahead.
And when Moshe heard that, he was content.
Now, the question is, why was not your job done? You see, he had to answer for why his job wasn't done. Once he gave an answer, Moshe was content. People have jobs around here. What make you think that if you don't show up for your job that you don't have to answer for why you wasn't there? Do that to your natural job. Just be gone for 3 days. And then just show back up. What up, dog? Who it is? I was trying to get in, my key card didn't work. Because you was fired. You had to give a reason for why. You can't just not show up and then have some kind of issue. No. Why was your job not done? This is the reason why I said no. Unless somebody has been here for a while, you can't just jump up in the department and get a job. You got to walk for a little bit. You got to understand, okay, is this something that I want to do? Because once you put your name on that, we're going to hold you to it. And if you can't make it, there's a phone. Hey, man, I ain't able to make it for such and such. All right. But you're held accountable for the job that you take. And you have to give a reason for why that job was not done. We'll just disappear, won't call nobody, won't say nothing, and then show back up like we in sport. But let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Luke chapter 9. See, Yahweh said, I've given you a job, and he expects something out of it. Go ahead, brother.
Even in that situation, Yahweh said, I've given you a job. He appointed you the job. In our cases, we volunteer for the job.
Exactly. And then don't perform the job that we volunteered for. And then call nobody and say we wasn't coming. Luke Luke chapter 9, and let's start that at verse 57.
And it came to pass that, as they went in the way, a certain man said unto him, Adonai, I will follow you wheresoever you go.
This is what everybody say. Everybody say, I'm going to follow you to your death, Yahshua. But when it was time to die, they took off running. Go ahead.
And Yahshua said unto him, Foxes have holes, and the birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has not where to lay his head. And he said unto another, Follow me. But he said, Adonai, suffer me first to go and bury my father.
See, you got to consider the job that you are applying for. You need to understand what's all required of that job. Because when he give you a job, there's authority attached to that job. But then there's also responsibilities. You can't have the authority without having a responsibility. They go hand in hand. You can't walk around with authority, but then you don't have any responsibilities. Go ahead.
Yahshua said unto him, Let the dead bury their dead, but go you and preach the kingdom of Elohim.
Now, if that bothers you, then you need to be a lesser level of a servant. So you need to know what's going to be required of you in the level of servitude that you're trying to enter in. If that bothers you, then you might not want to be no teacher. You might not want to go sit in that. If that bothers you, don't try to sit in that seat. See, there's many jobs in the kingdom. And you need to make sure that you don't sign yourself up for something that you cannot perform or that you might get offended when something happens. Don't choose that job. That's why you need to be around a little while and look. It might take 2 months. You say, oh no, I just seen, they have to do such and such. No, I don't want that job. You know how when somebody trying to recruit you for a job, they'll tell you about certain parts of the job, but not the others? You in there for a week, and they're like, well, that pipe busted, and we got to walk over there and turn the pipe off. Okay, well, what's that brown stuff on the ground? Oh, that's feces. That's what? Okay. All right, well, y'all got some boots, right? Okay. All right. So, where the handle to turn the hose off? Oh, it's down in there. Down in there? But I don't think I'm cut out for this job. They're not going to tell you that in the interview, right? That's why you need to sit around and watch and see, is this a job that I can commit to and a job that I'm okay doing? If not, you might not want to sign yourself up for that job. But you don't know that if you just come in the door and just sign your name on something. Don't be in a hurry to put your hand on the plow, because he will hold you accountable when you take your hand off. Go ahead.
Hey, don't just look at the job. Look at the person that's over that department, too. You might look and say, that brother is a little bit too rough with people. I can't deal with the way he talk. I don't need to be in his department.
Or he's so stressed that... Let me tell you something. My elder has told me, when he was like, I want you to head my media team. I said, all right, but let me tell you something. You're going to have to pray for me. Because the last 2 dudes that had their job, it didn't fare too well for them. He said, I got you. All right, then let's get to work. Go ahead.
Verse 61. And another also said, Adonai, I will follow you, but let me first go bid them farewell, which are at home at my house. And Yahshua said unto him, No man, having put in his hand to the plow and looking back, is fit for the kingdom of Elohim.
Right. If you're going to start a job, you damn well better finish it. See, you got those that talk about the kingdom, and you got those that are about the kingdom. Which one are you going to be? That's all that we are going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.